Hey, what's up, guys? Derek Wilcox here from Wilcox Strength Incorporated, Team Power Rack Strength, and always wearing that Answer Advanced Designs powerlifting gear. This is the second week in my block of tens. It's kind of kicking off my off-season work. Trying to add some muscle, drop a little body fat if it happens naturally. Not going to kill myself to do it. But this week I am squatting 405 or thereabouts. I think it came out to 402 with the kilos uh, for 3 by 10. My hips were bothering me a little bit. Had a little IT band pain problems. Probably should have spent a little more time warming up, but the squats didn't kill me, but they weren't overly fun either. That's kind of the nature of tens. The weight never feels that bad, but my lungs feel like they're collapsing inside of me and my heart's beating out of my chest even with lighter weights for 10. So it ends up feeling a bit more like cardio work anyway. You can see Charlie behind me. He got sleepy and tired just watching me do all this. So he was yawning as I was dying on the inside with all this volume. It was really a pretty good week, easing back into everything. It's one of those strange phenomenon where even though the first week of tens is lighter, it ends up making me a little bit more sore than the second week, which is about 10-15% jump in intensity in the weight that I'm using. And as you can see, I'm doing the stiff leg deadlift, or what some people call Romanian, Bulgarian deadlift, whatever you want to call them. They are basically a hip hinge movement in a deadlift form. Same mechanics as a good morning, but it's stressing your arms and upper back in a little bit different way. I'm doing these with a quick eccentric to try and get a particular muscle fiber type adaptation out of it. If you increase the rate at which those fibers are contracting, they're supposed to have a type 2 favored adaptation in the end, and that's really what I'm going for. I'm trying to hold on to all those explosive fibers that I may have from the heavy lifting and then the speed work with low volume in the previous months leading up to my last meet. Now this is a really high heel elevated squat, and I'm trying to keep my upper body as vertical as possible to isolate the quadriceps and particularly the vastus medialis, or the teardrop muscle down by the knee. Now this is an area that's definitely not hit hardly at all when I'm squatting really wide, and that part of the quadricep and the quads in general are very important and integral in stabilizing the knee joint. And I think I've talked about this several times in the past. If you don't have stability, you don't have the ability to produce force. You can't produce force out of something that's moving around a lot. That's just like trying to push rope instead of pushing a brick. This was on Tuesday. It's the pressing day or upper body day for me. Doing 185 for these no-touch incline presses. Don't go all the way down because of my shoulder issues, and also trying to focus on a full range of motion on my pec majors. And if I go down any farther, my elbows start tucking in just a little bit, which means the tension is coming off your pecs to a certain degree, and you're having to compromise your technique to complete the lift to get it to your chest. That's a bit of a mobility issue, and it's just not worth stressing my shoulder joints anymore if I don't really need to do that to stimulate everything I'm trying to do. Now, these are the seated overhead tricep extension, which feels totally different than doing them standing. It really takes away all the body English out of the movement and makes the movement a lot more strict. You get to see my facial expressions while I'm doing this, and it's always rather uncomfortable just on my shoulders and everything else, but once I get a few reps down, they get a bit more fluid. And in the bottom, I'm really just trying to get my forearms to rest on my biceps to get a full range of motion on the elbow joint before coming back up. And of course, the old favorite, pull-ups, 3 by 10, just my body weight. And by the time I get to the end of this workout, my shoulders and everything are pretty fatigued. So I'm just trying to knock these out as best I can. But next week, week 3, we're starting to move into 90+% intensity, RPE 9, and the weights should start getting interesting. And so far, I feel pretty good, and I think I'll be set for some PRs in week 4. But until then, take care, stay strong. I'll see you then.